I just want to give you a little heads up
Do
on it.
you know
That's all.
Yeah. Do you know that clip of this kid who's in the basement and he's like trying to record the drums and he's got the microphone and he's kind of trying to pull the microphone closer to get right over the drums and the mic cable's totally stretched out and he pulls it a little too far and the mixing board like falls over and the drums fall over and there's this giant noise and you hear the dad upstairs like scream like, what the hell was that? Have you ever seen that clip?
Yes, I've
Oh
seen
my
it. It's
God.
quite
I don't
funny.
know. That's so funny. Hold on. We got
Yeah,
a giant ambulance siren thing here. I don't know how good
I can hear
the
you.
noise
Okay,
cancellation software is. This is going to
it's not isolating
push
it
it to
that
its
well, but it's
limits.
okay.
But that's kind of what I imagine Restream being. It's the digital version, but you've got just like this plugged into that, routed over here to this, through the internet, back to YouTube and around in here. And it's amazing that it works.
Hey, Vaj is here. Vaj, can you confirm if you got an email from me yesterday? Can you confirm? I sent you an email yesterday. I sent you one a little while ago, and I don't know if you got that one either. But Vaj is in the house. I'm gonna
So
say
he
that this.
never reveals himself. I realize it's so weird to just talk and like talk to text on
Other
the screen.
people.
When we had what's his name? Ivan, what was that guy's name?
Stefan, yeah.
Stefan, that's it. I was missing the S and the T.
Yeah.
It was like, oh man,
Stefan.
there's actually a person here.
Yeah.
Edge will never reveal himself. He's lurking in the shadows.
DJ Trish is in the house. DJ Trish is a nice YouTube personality.
I was just streaming Lamp at Nectar's.
Lamp. Oh, the band Lamp.
Yeah, Ray.
Yeah.
Ray and Russ, and then some guy on guitar. I forgot his name.
Right. Ray Pachkowski and Russ Lawton, and then somebody else.
And then somebody, Ryan. It's like some guitarist.
Okay.
Looked a bit younger than them. I think they used to play as a duo. Occasionally they play as a trio with this guitarist. Dude, it was so groovy. I'm gonna say it's like better than Tab.
What?
It was like the great grooves of Tab. It's like those videos that are on YouTube where someone just like clips all the jams from the summer tour. There's no actual songs. They just like make a giant mix of just the jams. That's what it felt like. It's like, oh cool, there's no singing and songs. It's just, they're just like grooving, and it just sounded so good. Not that it's better than Tab, but it was like, oh, this is like just focusing in on this one element that we're used to in Tab, but making it the main attraction, you know. And God, they sounded so good. And Ray's like playing the bass parts with his left hand, like down low on the organ, and it's like boom, 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 boom. And you're like, that's as crazy like limb interdependence as anything that Fish does on the drums. He's got the bass going on the left hand, and then he's rocking on the clav or the organ with the right hand. So cool.
Yeah, the bass. The Fender made a bass piano, right? There's a bass Rhodes out there somewhere.
Oh, there's a bass Rhodes. Yeah, there's a bass Rhodes. And one of those like organs, you know, with the two keyboards, those get pretty deep. I don't know.
Yeah, I've never actually seen one before, but I remember I feel like John Paul Jones had one on stage frequently, and I think he also had
John Paul Jones would get on the organ, and maybe had like the bass pedals that Mike used to use too.
Yeah, and also Ray Manzarek had one, I think, on stage that you would see from time to time.
Right. Man, you know the Kids in the Hall. I think it's Kids
not
in the
so
Hall.
well, but yes, yeah,
like
of course.
There's the skit about the record store, about like the Doors fan. There's an amazing.
No, I don't know this one. Tell me about it.
I think it's Kids in the Hall. It just popped up the other day. Like someone had a video showing who's the guitarist, Robbie Krieger or something. Who's the guitarist for the Doors?
Yep.
Like a video of him watching that sketch, because in the sketch this guy comes in and it's kind of like it's almost like it's like a precursor to High Fidelity.
What happened?
Just like where this guy comes in and he's asking for records, and the guy who works there is like, "Oh, the new Depeche Mode, yeah, it's over there, except it sucks." And he's like, "Oh, how about this record?" He's like, "Oh yeah, it's over there, you know, but it sucks." And he just like
Right.
says that everything sucks until the guy mentions like the Doors. He's like, "What? Are you a Doors fan?" And then
Oh,
they
that's
go into
pretty
this big,
funny.
thing about Doors fans being, not being made, but being born. You're not born.
Oh, you got
Like you
it's in
can't
your
become a Doors
DNA.
fan. You're born a Doors fan, and he starts to like introduce him to what he has to do in order to become, a true Doors fan. And he gives him, first you got to start with this record, and then go to this record. And he goes, "Look at the back and tell me who's playing the bass on this track." And he looks at the track list and he's like, "No bass." And he's like, "That's
No.
right, no bass." And they're like, "What? No bass?" Very funny. It's like a proto High Fidelity like record store
Oh, I want to see that.
comedy sketch. And there was like, saw a clip of like someone showing it to Robbie Krieger, and he's getting quite,
Laughing at it.
he's laughing. There's a bunch of like deep Doors like lyric references and
He's
stuff.
cool. Those guys are those three guys, John Densmore and Ray Manzarek. I think they're all still living. At least they're on. I think they're
Ray
friendly.
Manzarek died actually.
Okay, yeah, they're on panel like in interviews, and they all look like themselves. They all look like
They look like they. Well, I mean, I would hope that they look like themselves.
Yeah, they look like themselves, but they just look like it's just funny. It's like you remember when that Beatles? What was the Beatles movie where
Jim Morrison died, and it's this whole thing. But you're like, all the other guys are like still around.
Yeah. I went through it because I was like, Doors was huge to me. Doors was like, I was 13 maybe or 14 when Oliver Stone's movie came out. That was a huge deal, and yeah, we all we lived by the Doors for a summer or two. That was a very, very impressionable movie.
I was really never into it, and I'm still not.
Well,
it's just like never. I feel like this has come up on the log, the Doors.
Yeah, probably. I saw an article on something.
Yeah, go for it.
No, you go for it. I'll come back.
I just thought that the Doors, the way that they just sounded so boring to me as a kid. And I thought this must have sounded so edgy and wild when it was new, but it's paved the way for so much other music that it doesn't have the shock value when, all the stuff that came after didn't exist yet. Like a lot of things are like that, like, oh, this thing is famous because at the time it was blowing people's minds and no one could believe anything could be so edgy and pushing the boundaries of those boundaries that don't exist now. And it doesn't have the impact that it had. It has a different context that it now exists in. And to me, it always sounded like that. I'm like, this is stuff my dad likes. And it must have been like the hardest and heaviest or coolest thing when it was new. But now I can't hear it like that. It's kind of how I always felt about the Doors, and maybe didn't give them as deep of a listen as I should have. And there's a couple songs that I do like, but I haven't listened
to the Doors in decades. I haven't listened to them in a really long time. I mean, except
the last thing. Yeah, it's like the last thing was like when Fish played "L.A. Woman" at the Forum a couple years ago.
Okay.
Like, oh yeah.
The key for the stats remembers
No,
this.
you know what? FIP, and also FIP, to shout out FIP, Radio France. I feel like Love Her Madly. There's one of the FIP DJs will throw on a Love Her Madly.
Oh, interesting.
Once in a while.
That's
I heard that on FIP and was like, ooh, okay, yeah, okay. There's maybe some Doors, and that's probably the song that Doors fans don't like. I don't know. That's the "L.A. Woman" album, I think.
That's a pro tip. That's a bit of kibble for anybody here who is tuning in who has never heard of FIP. If you haven't heard of FIP, I'm dropping a link into the chat here. It's Radio France, public radio.
Brian's been on a personal crusade, to turn as many people on to Radio France as possible. It's the best radio ever.
Amazing.
No, crazy eclectic.
Very good programming, and just around the clock. It's been around for probably 50 years or more, and it's just fantastic. I got attuned to it by just like one day being like, I'm gonna figure out this program thing on my amp, and like I'm gonna plug in
Yeah.
the top 20 radio stations, and FIP was on there, and it was nonstop listening, and it's like DJs, it's like
Yeah, look
and
at the
the
wiki. They play fucking thousands of artists, independent music. It's like no repeats in a 48-hour window. It's like
and then
everything of a
yeah,
radio.
then the FIPettes are on there, and the FIPettes come on and have these sultry voices every now and again, and you're listening to FIP, and next up on the FIP is and they have a little traffic, a little bit of, it's like NPR, but it's like, it's
Yeah, but they'll
99%
talk in
music.
30 seconds.
Yeah, it's quite short. But back to the Doors, like, so there's some FIP DJ who loves LA Woman.
Love her. Yeah.
I saw an article today which was about Lou Reed's favorite song by Tom Waits, which I was like, oh, that's interesting. This is two of my favorite artists. I wonder what is Lou, and it was probably like a 10-year-old article, but it was, what is Lou Reed's favorite Tom Waits song? I thought it actually had said, I misread it. I thought it said Tom Waits' favorite Lou Reed song, and that was really curious to me but anyway, the article is this really crappy
It would have been
article.
one of those like Tom Waits like fake interviews where
it was actually, yeah, more or less that's what it was, but it was
it was the other way around. It was Lou
but it was
Reed.
the Tom Waits Facebook official. Well, I don't even know if it's official, but it was the whoever has the Tom Waits or whatever on Facebook. It was that group. I think they have quite a few followers. At any rate, I go through there, and the song that he liked, the song that Lou Reed cited him knowing, was kind of interesting. It was "Bad as Me."
Oh.
As bad as me, like a quite recent song. In fact,
I was gonna say, when did Lou Reed pass away? I almost wonder.
Yeah, it's been 10 years.
Hear that last album.
So, but that would suggest, and then the article went on to say that like he was quoted in an interview saying, oh well, I like the early stuff and I like the mid stuff, and it wasn't until he knew Tom Waits' discography, which was kind of interesting. And the fact that he mentioned "Bad as Me" was sort of implied that he was following it for quite a while, which I thought was sort of telling and cool. But Tom Waits, who spent some time in LA, is talking about Jim Morrison. There's a quip from him about Jim Morrison, and he says that Jim Morrison was just a silly LA guy. Well, I should pull it up. A silly LA dude, a silly LA character. It was pretty funny.
Man, yeah.
Really dismissed him. Yeah, I don't know. You kind of look at. I don't know.
But
Oliver
Stone
like
was
obsessed with him.
Yeah, everybody's coming to music from their own angle, with their own reference points, touch points.
Man, Strange Days and like The End and Riders on the Storm. Like I listened to those songs 1,000 times more.
Yeah,
they were just so groovy and so psychedelic. And on the rainy days and camping with your buddies, and in high school, it was like and like just sitting on patios in the rain when like summer days and the parents were gone or whatever it was just like that was a soundtrack of a chapter of my childhood.
Yeah, so you have those memories and associations with that's not baked into the music itself, right? So you have a whole experiential element to your
and the movie had a lot to do with it. It had a whole lot to do with it. So the big kibble, the big can of dog food that we have is this crazy show that happened yesterday. That was what? What was it called?
Oh, right. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, man, like
Love Rocks New York. What was it?
Some benefit show.
New York Love Rocks.
Yeah, Love Rocks New York.
Yeah, benefit show. And it was very confusing because the logo had this like food. It had a guitar, and half the body of the guitar was a fork, and the other half of the guitar was like a guitar, which would imply that it was like a food raising foundation. But they were raising money for, what was the name of the organization? They were raising money for this Love Rocks New York, an annual concert. The beneficiary of the funds that they were raising was some
charity,
some organization that fulfills orders for like special food people with food needs and but who have like dietary restrictions or something like that. I read up a little bit about it. It was quite weird. Like all these custom, like how if you get on an airplane and like that one order, like the vegetarian on the plane gets like the special
Right.
order. It was like it was sort of like a homeless shelter version of this. It was like for those who can't eat the same food that they're eating at the, I don't know what you call the food drive places, the soup kitchen places. It was special meals for those people, which sounds like an interesting cause. But then Steve Guttenberg, like, it's just the weirdest cast of characters, wasn't it? A bizarre, like, it was quite a strange bill, a very, very weird bill.
Yeah, and Mavis Staples. I mean, there's tons of all kinds of.
Beck showed up, or Beck was on the bill.
Beck, Trey, Cher, Frampton.
Yeah, Frampton and Cher. Was Cher on the bill? Was she? She wasn't on the bill, was she?
Yes, yeah, I'm pretty sure she was on the bill.
Oh, she was on it. Okay. So here, I'll just pull this up, Michael. Just because I have it, it's just so.
Okay, interesting. I didn't know.
Yeah, no. I didn't really prepare anything, but there's just one little funny thing that I've got here. And there's something that's quite funny about. Whoa. There was a moment here. Come on. Window. So it was so crazy because did Trey have the top billing? Was he the top guy on the bill? Because he was at the bottom of the. He was at the bottom of the playbill, actually.
I didn't even know it was happening until like.
I didn't even know it was happening either. But he was at the bottom of the bill, but maybe that meant that he was the headliner or something like that. But obviously, he's got a fair amount of pull in New York. But the fact that he's like not Cher and not Beck, it was a little bit weird for me. Or not. Who else was on the bill? Mavis Staples.
Cher was kind of seemed like
the headliner,
like the climax sort of.
Or Frampton, yeah.
I don't know. I feel like she went longer than anybody else. Had
she did 3 costume changes. Yeah, that was funny. She came out doing Mark Cohn's "Walking in Memphis," which I hadn't heard in ages. You commented on that in the thread.
Yeah, it was totally like, oh man, I know this song. But cool. That's a cool cover to do. But it was also like, what's Cher doing? Like full blown like wig Elvis like costume.
It was very weird.
It up and being like, oh, she's done this before. She's got, and there's all these rumors of did or did she not like, go out with Elvis and did she?
Oh,
sleep?
Really? I don't know that story. I didn't know that. Okay.
And it's like you can't, she won't deny, or.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Like, did she or did she not have a thing with Elvis in between? Like she was married to. Like Bono guy and Sonny. Why did I think Sonny's name was Bono? Is his last name Bono?
Guy? Yeah, Sonny Bono.
Bono.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, Sonny Bono.
Not Bono from U2.
No, that would be, but I wouldn't put it that past her either. She's kind of, I have a funny thing. I did.
Power. She just like takes over people. Like Trey was just like drawn in.
Yeah, charisma, super charisma.
By Cher's super charisma.
Well, I heard somebody either in the chat or on stage, or I don't know where I heard this, but it was like, get her in the middle with next to Trey. I heard that it's somewhere. Yeah. And I think there was a little, the fact that she was center stage and sharing a mic with him meant that like, there was something there to that. So, and I don't know, I just thought it was kind of a riot. And the fact that he stopped playing guitar. I mean, there's so many little things that we could comment about.
Yeah, he just like stops playing and it's just like, oh Cher.
Is he on her radar, I wonder?
Is he on Cher's radar?
Yeah.
Who knows? I bet if she spends time in New York, maybe they've crossed paths, but she probably has no idea who his band is, I would imagine, like, oh, you're that guy, that redhead guy. I've seen you at all these events. But she probably has no idea what Fish is. But I have no idea. It's like you could
Yeah,
think
I
like
don't know if
Drake
he.
all
I
over
don't,
New York and just playing with a million people. Like maybe more people just know him personally and maybe have no idea what the hell Fish sounds like or what they do. They just know that he's in some band. Yeah. Oh, isn't he in that band that nobody knows anything about?
yeah, but if you're reading the trades, which you would think that Cher is, or whatever the
Oh, you
music
played
industry
Cheater.
version of that, you can't ignore that Fish is going to be at the top of the money-making chart every year,
Right. Yeah.
possibly as big as or bigger than Cher. I mean, I can't imagine Cher does more than
But
like a
yeah, but at the
Vegas
same time,
residency.
like outsiders. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. And then Beck, I wondered about that dynamic. It's like, oh, are Beck? Surely they're on each
Beck
other's
totally
radar.
seemed like he was just like on autopilot, just like
Yeah, we
you know,
phoned that
just
one in a
I
little
guess
bit, eh?
I'll come and do this thing, or he's getting paid to do it, or it just seemed like a job. It was kind of funny.
Yeah,
But
it
still
was a
delivered. It
weird.
was good. And yeah, the 1999 cover was a surprise.
Yeah, and then who was the guy that was singing Saturday, Saturday? Who was that guy?
Oh, who was that guy? I have no idea who that guy is.
When he came out, and he was singing.
He was doing his best, like Freddie Mercury, T-Rex, Mick Jagger, just
It was
like,
all of them all combined into one, and like none of.
just like cocky British frontman.
It was a bit
thing.
weird. It was fun though.
It was cool.
It was absurd. It was like a New Year's Eve gag almost. It was like it was very fishy. And
totally
if you were in the comments, like this was it was a great show to be a Fish fan to, because we have a secret clubhouse where we can go and hang out with some Fish buddies, and freaking the thread was so hilarious. Were you
way more chats than any regular Fish show? Like, why is everybody online watching this thing? And everybody's like, this is so weird.
I was like, is this really happening? Is Cher on stage with Trey at the same time? Like, and the guy came out and they were like, what were some of the jokes? Oh, I want to pull up the chat. There was like what was there? Oh, can you think of any? Can you recall? I remember one.
I remember you being like, is this I mean, it's a charity thing. So, it's not like, it was interesting to think, like, is this like what people consider normal music?
Yeah. Oh, right. Is this what normal people listen? Is this what normies listen to?
Because to us, this seems bizarre.
It seems totally bizarre.
If people are saying Fish is weird, we're like, this is fucking just as weird. The guy from the Eurythmics, which is with his like,
yeah, with the Australian over.
Like crazy.
Yeah, it's very weird
guitar
show.
straps, and like he was doing some costume changes.
It couldn't have gotten weirder. It couldn't have gotten more strange. And then Cher comes out and she's sharing a mic with Trey, and then it's like it actually did even get weirder. And then that guy came, then the Saturday night guy came, who's singing Saturday night on a Thursday night. He comes out like, New York City. I heard you.
They do say Thursday, Saturday. He prefaced it. He tried to make it work.
Is that a thing? Does Elton say that before he plays that on a Thursday?
I don't know, but when I was at school at UCLA, I don't know if this is universities in general, but like almost every class at UCLA was like Monday and Thursday.
Monday and Thursday? Is that what you said? Okay.
Yeah, like when I was at.
Oh, so it's like party night is Thursday.
Thursday night was when everybody went out. Like the weekend started on Thursday.
Yeah, but still, Thursday is not Saturday.
Oh, that was the day that they,
It's still just
the thing is, you're gonna more often play a concert on Thursday.
Sure.
And then write songs about Saturday than the other way around. No one's writing Thursday night. THURSDAY.
I was thinking about songs with Thursday in the title. Yeah.
Thursday night.
I got a couple laughs with the like, this is like our generation's The Last Waltz. Did you see that comment?
That really got me thinking a lot, actually, thinking about The Last Waltz.
What about?
Just like thinking about, like, there's not many bands that just, amicably just stop playing and would do something like The Last Waltz.
Yeah.
Like Happy End, for example.
I always think about Happy End. The name of their band is Happy End, and they seem to have like the band had a have properly happy end.
It's it reminds me of like, I don't know if this is a common thing, but me and my friends often compare like British TV shows to American TV shows,
Yeah.
or like British TV shows often just go for a few seasons, which they call series. You know this in the UK? Like,
Yeah.
season 1, series 1,
Okay.
which is
Yeah.
so weird. You'd think of the whole show as a series with
Mhm.
seasons like backwards, or it's the other way around. But like, it's nice for, to say like, okay, here's our story, 3-4 seasons. We'll tell the story. We'll wrap it up. The end. Versus, Heroes or Lost, just these TV shows where they're like, well, it's so popular, we'll just keep making more
Sure.
episodes, and the story just goes way to left field, and it's just like, they're like, we just have to make the plot more and more spectacular to keep, doing crazy cliffhangers and getting people to watch and selling ads, and they're, it just goes on forever.
But I think Robbie Robertson pulled kind of like a John Lennon, right? He was the one that wanted, like, the band would have gone on if it weren't for him, I think.
Oh, even like after Jim Morrison died?
No, I'm talking about the Last Waltz. I'm talking about Robbie Robertson, not Robbie Krieger. Robbie Robertson.
Robbie, and I just thought.
No, Robbie Robertson. I think he wanted to go do his own thing, right? Is that the story?
I don't know enough about it, even though I've listened to it a million times, seen the movie a couple times. Maybe some of the guys didn't want to.
I'm sure they didn't want to. I'm sure. I know that. Yeah, I'm sure that.
I mean,
they
even
would have
Fish
all gone on.
probably, in 2004, they didn't want, didn't want to see it go. Yeah, it just made me think like, man, yeah, in bands that'll just, come back for another reunion, or like.
Yeah,
Kiss.
John
Kiss, who
Frusciante
was doing their final tour
like 8 times,
like fucking, 20 years to just like milk every last penny out.
Right. Yeah, that show was a riot, man. That thing was just hilarious. I can't. And then Trey did what? He did Everything's Right, and then they had that amazing guitarist Grace Bowers. Holy smokes, she was cool.
It was weird because sometimes she sounded so good, and then other times,
she was underwhelming. I agree. Like she came out and she did Frampton and
Trey,
that three-way jam thing was really cool. Did you notice how like
Gently Weeps? Yeah,
I felt like Frampton was playing his I thought that, why didn't they play Do You Feel Like We Do? I thought that was, I saw the vocoder tube on his microphone. Did they play that before Trey arrived?
I didn't watch. I jumped.
I was thinking they were going to close the show with that. They should have closed the show with that. What did they end up closing? Oh, it was Trey led it was a Good Times Bad Times.
Yeah, Zeppelin. It was Good Times Bad Times.
It was Good Times Bad Times. That was another sort of like inside joke. I was like, oh, it's a Good Times Bad Times. But when they had that 3 little guitar thing going on, and that Grace Bowers girl, she shredded that solo.
That solo was very good,
right? And she had a real crunchy tone and real crazy really style of playing. Yeah,
I like that. I like that kind of thing.
And Trey, and then Frampton was like, you could tell that it was a honor for Trey to be playing with Frampton, and he was, he was giving him all the respect that he possibly could give to him. It was very evident, I thought. And then when the Grace Bowers thing came on, he gave that old like, excellent, nice jam, wicked solo. He did it twice, and then he played, and he played like so true to the actual original solo.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, it was cool. It was really a nice
little so tribute. Used to hearing
fapping around,
kind of flub those kind of things,
right?
Sort of, or like the Steely Dan induction thing a few months back, where he played and everybody was like, "Who's this? The guy fucking can't play the I think he flubbed a few notes on some."
Who was it? Wasn't
Trey?
Trey played on a Steely Dan induction of the Hall of Fame.
There was some, I don't know what it was, some honoring.
I didn't see this
thing.
And it was the it was that crazy solo from,
I don't remember. I don't remember. It was I
and they
don't
were
know.
bagging on him. Oh, I
6 months
didn't.
ago, they were.
Okay,
I think so. And well, you know, and Fish fans will just
sure.
love to hate on him, or like Sugar Shack, or that there's just like certain riffs where it's like, oh, Trey's gonna flubs it every time. Just can't. Why does he not practice this? There's just like that side to it sometimes.
Sure.
But
But
man, it
he's
wasn't
got like
like,
five
oh,
million.
he's playing the George Harrison solo. Oh, but he's like, oh man, he's nailing it. No, and it's so, yeah, restrained and controlled.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool hearing the difference in tone and feel too between those, like the
Yeah,
three.
he only had the tube screamers and the wah wah or the volume pedal. I don't know what that pedal was, but he had just the two tube screamers.
Yeah, there was that little pedal board.
Yeah.
That
And
was
the
nice.
tone was real. Yeah,
It's
it was, the
simple.
tone was real distilled down to its kind
Yeah,
of essence.
Fish. Sometimes it feels like a little over the top, where
Could be.
like Mike and everybody, they're just like, and Fish is now has this like sample pad, and it's just like
Right.
just adding
out
more
there.
toys all the time. It's like, it's nice hearing it stripped down.
Yeah, there's a bit I always go back to in that gear breakdown where he's talking about what he's talking about the Heavy Things bell that he made, ding ding, or what is that?
Yeah, the sample, yeah.
And I think it's the gear breakdown before the last one,
Oh, right.
before the recent one. But he's talking about all the things that he does, and like he's got the reverse thing on something. I love how that sounds, and he goes through like 12, like in a 10 seconds, he goes through 12 examples of different effects that we all know from hearing,
Yeah,
and I thought about
it's true.
he's got to remember all the freaking melodies, and the fretboard, and then he's got this whole other machine that's like, you got to be a master operator of that thing.
Yeah, happy feet.
Not to mention the like hand signals and the secret language and all, like it's just like it's a giant like aircraft they're flying, huge aircraft they're flying. Yeah, that was the bit of kibble that I wanted to get up and talk about, was that show. It was just kind of a riot. You got any other kibble?
I had something. Fuck, what was it? I had a little Scooby snack. Man,
What's your Here's my thing that I'm dealing with today. I'm working on 2 projects at the same time, and 2 video projects at the same time. And man, I went to something last night. Oh, you'll appreciate this. So do you know Drive-Thru? Do you know Drive THRU, Drive-Thru.jp? The guy named Shingo Jimbo. Do you know this guy? You've seen these like cars and coffees events that they have like on Guy and My. Anyway, there's this like classic car. Can you hear me okay, by the way?
Yeah.
Is there a lot of chatter in the back? Is it okay?
It's not bad.
But it's coming through. Okay.
You hear a little bit. There's probably that like voice isolation.
Let me see if I can turn it on.
I think Restream's got settings, or just like
noise suppression. Try that. Is that any better?
Yeah, it sounds good. I mean, it sounds good.
Let me see.
Even with a little background noise, adds a little.
Sorry. Okay. Anyway, it's getting a little loud over here, but anyway, we'll wrap it up here relatively soon. But this guy Jimbo, he's got an old school BMW, like a 1980 320 thing, and he converted the thing. He took the engine out himself and converted it to an electric car, and it's like a DIY project that he's been doing for the last few years. His dad had he grew up with his dad had a nice old Porsche, and he's in the car world, and he's got this garage that he has access to, and you've probably seen it before. He's working with the Lixel, the architecture interior Lixel. They make this, I think, if I have it right, they make this like trailer, like this Airstream kind of trailer thing, and it's called the Roomette. And it's big, and you can stand up in it, but you can pull it. It's real lightweight, and you can pull it with like a little tiny Mini Cooper or something like this. And they've outfitted these things with like they turned it into like coffee shops and ice cream pop-ups, and they're like in the food court. And if you went to like Midori So, you know,
The one
there's
on the one in Aoyama.
oh yeah, there's one in there that they had parked for a while that was like, it was like an
Yeah.
Airbnb. You could go and stay there. There was like a bedroom inside, and they've
Yeah.
done one of his like side projects. They're going really for it. One of their side projects is like I can't concentrate. Turned it into like a listening room. They turned one of these trailers into like, they put a really hi-fi system. Although and they had a pop-up last night at T-Site. So I go there, and it's part of this bigger pop-up event, and they've got a race car there, and they've got the trailer there, and there's like 2 or 3 car things and a fashion thing. And it was mainly a car thing, but because it was like music related, and I wanted to check out this music thing, and I had been telling him, go invite me to the next thing. I went there, and I'm going around with a selfie stick and the GoPro, and man, this keeps happening. But I pushed record, thinking I'd started recording, and I hadn't. And then on like one of the sections, and then like I stopped it, thinking that I was stopping it, but I actually started it again, and like got into like 2 or 3 of those, and like lost some really important footage. And now I gotta like figure out how to put that back together, which is kind of causing me a nightmare. And then I got this Tokyo toilet thing that I'm working on, and that I made a 3-hour long video. Do you know about the Tokyo toilet project? Do you know about Perfect Days? Have we talked about it? We've talked about it. Bemsha.
Maybe. I mean,
Bemsha had a comment about it.
I totally hated that movie. But
oh, really? Okay, tell me why'd you hate
awful.
it?
It's like awful movie.
I loved it. I'm curious to hear why you hated it.
Oh man, I don't.
What didn't you like about it, or what? Because Bemsha also hated it, and I was like, yeah, Bemsha hated it, and he told me.
I mean, I didn't like.
And I was like, what? And then my friend,
I thought it was just not good.
What I want to know, what was just boring or acting? What was bad about the acting? The everybody besides the main guy, Koji Yakushima, was awful. Basically, it was like that sort of TV drama overacting that you always see. Like the little sidekick guy, he was terrible. And he was awful. I thought. He was
almost but it's almost like people like that.
Yeah, people, but it was just like it was so overwritten, and that little part was ridiculous. But and then
just like that type. I don't know. I don't know what he's appreciating, the little moments in between things or something is the big.
I read something about it.
Amazing. Is that the big takeaway about like even the toilet cleaner has these little? I just thought he's just like he's the type of old Japanese guy that's everything that's wrong with Japanese culture is that type of old guy who doesn't give a shit about anything and doesn't care about anybody but himself, is what I thought about that type of person.
Interesting.
In Japanese, in that context of Japanese culture. And number 2, I know that it was produced by Dentsu. Like Dentsu made that movie for Shibuya just to promote the toilets, and that just is just like I just don't like
turn
that.
Off. Okay.
It's like this. Okay, this movie's just to get. It's made by Dentsu, which is a evil corporation.
Brian, I do not necessarily share the views of all the voices on panel on this stream. I'm not saying I do or I don't. But
I had a girl. One of my exes worked at Dentsu. They're just like evil marketing, and non-marketing advertising.
I have a bunch of friends who work at Dentsu, so.
Yeah, your friend David. I mean, well, just because your friend works there doesn't mean it's.
No, but I mean, they're a huge company. They overlap on so many projects that I'm doing, or that I'm kind of tangentially connected to. That's all. They have a reputation. They're the reason that like Japan had to like change the laws so that they made people go home because they were.
Yeah, that girl killed herself.
I know. They have their reputation precedes themselves. So,
these opinions are mine.
No.
They're not necessarily those of the dog log.
Yeah, exactly.
But
anyway, yeah.
it's just the whole thing is just to get tourists to come and look at the toilets. It's just like I just thought I thought
See,
the
I
movie was
saw it
bad. I
totally
thought the movie was
differently.
I thought it was bad, and I just like that guy is like, what's wrong with Japan?
The actor,
Just like that,
the
like that.
character,
Well, he's a great actor. Just no,
right?
but that type of person.
That type of person, I'm just want to get this right. That type of person is a stereotype. Is that what you're saying? That type of person is.
I guess, yeah, I suppose not that type of person, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, you don't want to stereotype.
See what I thought of. I thought
And
a
there's
couple
not
of things
enough
about.
backstory to know what really
Well,
happened
there is a backstory.
with the ex-wife and all that, you know.
Okay,
Right? Is that his daughter or it's his granddaughter who runs
his
away and comes and
niece,
stays with
his
him? His
niece.
niece.
Yeah.
So is that his sister who comes over in the fancy
Yes.
car?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the backstory that you don't know that wasn't published anywhere or wasn't explained in the movie that Wim Wenders later put out was that the guy left a high society position at some shot show at some giant corporation that was killing him and wanted to like unplug from his over the top life and wanted a simpler life and something that he was more familiar to him that when he may have been like growing up in the countryside of Japan. And so he just ejected, ripcorded out of this, Shinjuku salaryman life or whatever. And
Yeah.
this is what he can. And then his sister comes over and she's like, really? Is this what you want? Is this what you want your life to be? Like cleaning toilets and, listening to like reading paperback books in your crappy apartment? And he's like, yeah, actually that is what I want. That is
Right.
what I want. And then the other thing is that yes, it was a commercial, or it was Dentsu was involved in it, but the other backstory on that is from the rumor that I heard was that or I don't know if it's a rumor so much as it is like just not not common knowledge, but it's just like it's been pointed out that it started out as a promotional piece for the city of Shibuya that Dentsu was in charge of, and there was so much there, and that the creative director of the project were like, we should build this into an actual feature film. And then it evolved into this movie, and it didn't start out that way, but that's why Dentsu is attached to the project. But then they brought Wim Wenders into it, and then it became like sort of like a product placement movie. But when you say it's like product placement, the only product that they're really selling is the taxpayers' money or whatever, or the city's money is going to good projects that beautify the city, because they're not selling anything.
Right. Yeah. Right. Those. Yeah.
It's a public service.
Japan has so many free public toilets that you kind of take for granted.
Yeah. I read that little backstory about the protagonist before I watched the movie, just by accident. I was just kind of researching about it, and then so that gave me maybe a different perspective than maybe you or Bemsha had or other detractors had about it. And then the other thing, and you tell me what you think about this, because I'm curious about your opinion. Like when I saw Lost in Translation, I think I saw it in 2004. I moved to Japan in 2004, and I thought like that scene where he's like, has to move the shower head like above his head because Japanese people are so short that he can't, like, he's too tall or whatever. I was so sort of like, I thought that was like such a caricaturization of Japanese people. And then
Right.
like the prostitute who comes to his hotel room and is like, I want to lick your leg or whatever she says, and he's like, I'm just like, oh, it's so cringy bad, But then that was like before I think there's like,
it's like a little bit
of some intentional. It's very weird. Maybe I should get off.
Yes. Either way.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's the move. Yeah, sorry to cut the log short here. I really wanted to get into it a little bit further, but I think
that's all good.
Yeah, this is crazy. Okay, well, yeah, this is what happens when you don't have a proper Yeah, this is why you're streaming in the car and I'm streaming in the living room, and
I'm
why
streaming in the car because I'm too lazy to like.
I know, but sometimes I have to stream in the
Use-
car for this very reason.
Oh.
We live in this tiny little world, and this is the reality of it. But to be continued, I want to come back to this thing, and let's see if we can pick up where we left off, because I want to, like, the Lost in Translation and is to Japan whatever Perfect Days is to Japan. I want to let's pick that up on the next log. What do you say?
Interesting. Sounds good. Yeah, I've also got a few album recommendations.
Okay, I will have those coming as well
for next time. There's a bunch of got some good new records out there. Nice. All right. Well, I'm gonna
all right, dude. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'll have to catch you on the next log, dude. Party on.
Log rolls. See you,
The
dude.
log